Thank you to my channel members and Ko-fi supporters that make these videos possible. You can also support me by buying a deck tech on my weekly Tuesday and Sunday streams. More info in the video description. Hello everyone. Card draw is incredibly important to a game of Magic. Absolutely. This video will talk about it plenty in depth. I feel though there's a lot about gaining advantage in Magic that people just aren't really privy to. Concepts that every good player should take into account when deck building and while actually playing Magic that are kind of just neglected, and if more commonly known, would not only lead to you winning more games, but also better, more fulfilling games that meaningfully increase your agency. And who doesn't want that? So then, I think it's best if we open up this conversation by talking about actual card draw spells, ones that literally exist to let you just see more cardboard. There's two real types of card draw spells, one-offs and engines. Engines are permanents that offer you repeated instances of card draw. It might be for casting certain types of spells, it might be for just paying mana into it, or it can just happen over time passively. Meanwhile, one-off card advantage spells are, as the name implies, just spells that immediately give you access to two or more cards after being cast. Now, it might be tempting to reach for a ton of engines and no one-off card advantage spells since their ceiling is way higher, but the thing is that one-offs are very capable cards. Take something like a simple Knight's Whisper. When someone makes a major move and you're answerless and desperately need to see the most amount of cards to answer the threat at hand, which would you rather see on your draw step? Dark Confidant or Knight's Whisper? Now, this isn't to say don't run both. They absolutely can coexist in the same environment. I'm just saying it might be good to make sure that some amount of your draw spells can turn into more cards right away, which is not something that most engines do. This threatening board state example is a perfect time to segue into one of the first major points of this video: tempo and its effect on card advantage. Let's say you were in a situation where an opponent has a scary board that can maybe half or quarter your life total, but it's not going to kill you or the table right away. Do you slam the Wrath of God in this position or pass your turn? Now, things like Anthems and Crater Hoofs exist, and there's a shot they can make this almost lethal board into an actual lethal board. But what if one of the cards in your hand was a counterspell for the possible parity breaker? What if this opponent and your other opponents commit more to the board, leading into your Wrath? What are the odds that the next player in turn order has an answer for the board, letting you sandbag yours? Now, this is not me saying always be greedy like this. For example, if your opponent is tapped out, you might not have a window after they untap to resolve the board wipe, but you should at least give some thought to the circumstances before spending the card. Am I actually dead if I don't fire this off? You only need one life to win the game, and waiting for the maximum information and maximum value for your cards is a form of card advantage that will win you more games. On the opposite side of this, you should be attacking whenever possible. By whittling away life points from your opponents, you are giving them less time, and less time means they see less cards, which, you guessed it, is advantageous for you. This dynamic's actually very similar to ones you can find in other formats, especially with combo decks like High Tide. You see, since High Tide is a non-deterministic combo deck, you need to make sure that you absolutely maximize your greediness to ensure that you can pop off and win. The thing is, with an opponent beating you down, you often need to ask the question, am I dead on this board? If the answer is no, you often will just pass the turn just to see one more card. I feel like Commander players can learn a lot from this exchange. I need to emphasize a point from this last bit. Your spells get more advantageous the later you cast them. You could fire off a removal spell that is instant speed on your turn, sure. Sometimes there's reasons for doing this, like the counter magic player being tapped out, for example. But generally speaking, it's correct to wait to play your spells as late as possible, as they become better the more information you gain. Why remove that one ring now when you can wait for the end step before the turn of the ring bearer, just in case the player before them in turn order has a collector oof or some other answer that saves you that card? Strategizing to make your cards better than your opponents is a major way to gain card advantage without literally drawing cards. But there's a bit more to this conversation, such as the strategies, stacks, and hate bears. They're a perfect example because when an opponent plays a card that turns off a percentage of your deck but doesn't touch theirs because of how they built it, blanking cards and potential top decks for you, that player effectively created card advantage with that play. They're not literally drawing a million cards off Greater Good, Sphinx's Revelation, or anything, but the effect on the game is the same. They now have time to draw what they need naturally while you are drawing blanks. This goes for a lot of situations beyond hate pairs as well. Are you reliant on combat to win? How does your deck beat a Fog Loop or a Pillow Fort? If it can't, or you don't draw into your answer, you might as well have an emblem that says you can't draw cards. Now, of course, stack strategies still run literal card draw in their decks. In fact, the best stack decks are helmed by Tymna, but that still doesn't detract from the fact that they get further advantage in this secondary way. Drawing cards is just really good, as it turns out. So let's talk less strategy and focus now on deck building. I'm probably best known for my obsession with using Thalia's Lancers and Recruiter the Guard as an engine with Felia, Exuberant Shepherd, which features as the main engine in my Kellen deck. There's more generic ones in there, but this tutor toolbox is really the star of the show. There is one deck's value engine I never really got around to talking about in a video though that will help me illustrate my next point about card advantage. That being my Iara deck. And despite the fact that Iara is an engine herself, she does like a little help. Since she's a tokens deck, I run Hoarding Broodlord, and because she's a devotion deck, I run Grim Servant. Now, on the surface, these are both just tutors, but either can go grab Saw in half to become card advantageous. Because of the lofty amount of life gain in Iara, I also run Dark Confidant and Darkstar Augur, which both fill out the curve either side of Iara. Despite not being an Aristocrats deck, my Iara list is also running Dark Prophecy and Vainwitch Coven, which get more value when Iara eats a creature, or I have one of my 2 sacrifice outlets meant to clear the top for Bolas' Citadel or Munching Ophiomancer Snakes in play. For me, who likes the role Dark Prophecy, Darkstar Augur, and friends play in my card advantage suite quite a lot, I don't remotely consider Necropotence or even Necrodominance for this deck, despite them being the most powerful cards at the same cost that still fit the pay a life motif the deck strives for. I like the hoops I have to jump through to clear the top card for Bolas' Citadel. Something like Necropotence makes that a little too easy. Not to say I'm playing fair Citadel. That card's stupid no matter what you're doing with it. But to me, Necropotence is a step too far. What I'm trying to say here is if you're optimizing for fun, and part of that fun is a value engine, consider if that Rhystic Study or Trouble in Pairs you're considering to power up your deck is actually detracting from the fun of your other engines. If that answer is yes, maybe try seeking optimizations in other ways. This has been a message wrapped in my last few videos. Make sure not to outshine the fun cards in your deck with better options, or you'll feel bad playing them. If you wanted to build a deck that focused on grinding out and controlling the game with Evolution Witness and Thran Vigil, for instance, I think it'd be a little odd to put a Yawgmoth Undying value line in that deck, since it would just flat out outshine whatever you're doing with the Evolution Witness. Like, yeah, it'd be good in that deck, but the issue isn't the power of it, but the fact that it's dwarfing the main thing you wanted to highlight about your cool +1/+1 counters brew. Anyway, that's it for this video. Have you ever been rewarded for a greedy play before? Have you ever been punished for being too conservative? Let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, bye!